You know that old saying about no good deed going unpunished? That was basically the motto of the restaurant where I worked. It was one of those mid-range places you'd find in a suburban shopping center. Just nice enough that people felt fancy ordering wine, but casual enough that kids ran around the booths like it was a playground. I'd been there a couple of years, long enough to become one of their best waiters. I wasn't just patting myself on the back. Customers wrote glowing reviews on Google, sometimes even mentioning me by name. My tips were solid. I knew the menu inside and out, and I could juggle a 6-table section without breaking a sweat. In a place where half the staff showed up late or called in sick after partying, that made me the dependable one, the guy they leaned on. It also meant I rarely asked for anything. So when I did ask for a small favor, a single morning off, I didn't think it would be a big deal. It was a Monday night, and the week had already been one of those exhausting stretches where every shift felt longer than the last. I'd worked doubles, closed out late, and was running on caffeine and the vague hope that someday I'd get a real vacation. I went up to my manager, a guy who looked permanently tired, and asked if I could have my Tuesday morning shift covered. He barely glanced up from the schedule. "Yeah, no worries," he said, sounding like he was reciting it in his sleep. "The new girl is coming in to train anyway. We'll have plenty of people for lunch." Sounded good to me. I thanked him, went home, and for once didn't set an alarm. Little did I know, that decision would kick off the most satisfying accidental vacation of my life. When I finally woke up the next morning, feeling more rested than I had in weeks, I didn't think to check my phone right away. I made coffee, watched a little TV. It wasn't until almost 11 a.m. that I noticed the string of missed calls and frantic texts. They were all from the owner. The man had the temperament of a caffeinated squirrel on a good day, and judging by the caps lock in his messages, this was not a good day. "Where are you? Call me now. You are no call, no show." At first, I thought there had to be some mistake. I'd asked for the morning off. The manager had said it was fine. The new girl was supposed to be training, and lunch on Tuesdays was always slow. I called back, trying to keep my voice calm. He didn't bother with a hello. "Why didn't you show up for your shift?" he barked. I explained patiently that I'd cleared it with the manager the night before. There was a long pause. Then he said, in this icy, clipped tone I'd only ever heard when he was about to fire someone, "She's not a trained server yet. You know that. The way I see it, you missed your shift." I blinked, stunned. "She was scheduled to train," I said. I asked if it was okay. He said yes. I wouldn't have just not shown up. He didn't care. He started in on this rant about how it was my responsibility to find a replacement if I couldn't be there. Never mind that the manager had literally told me it was fine. Never mind that I had never once been late, let alone a no-show. He ended with, "So you're suspended for a week. Maybe that will teach you to follow protocol." I sat there holding my phone, feeling like someone had punched me. Suspended. For the first time in my entire time working there. Because I'd trusted my manager, who, by the way, was still working there without consequence. It was so absurd that after the initial shock wore off, all I could do was laugh. A week off. Unpaid, sure. But still, a whole week with no shifts, no doubles, no getting yelled at because the kitchen was slow. I took a deep breath and texted back, "All right, see you in a week." I half expected another barrage of messages. But he didn't reply, and that's when it hit me. He'd actually done me a favor. The first couple of hours after the call, I honestly didn't know what to do with myself. I'd never been suspended before. I was the reliable one, the guy who showed up on time, picked up extra shifts, covered for other people's no-shows without complaint. And here I was, being punished for trusting my manager's word. At first, my brain cycled through all the usual reactions. Frustration, disbelief, a tiny stab of worry about money. But the longer I sat with it, the more something unexpected settled over me. Relief. Because the truth was, I'd been running on fumes for months. We were chronically understaffed. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had more than a day or two off in a row. Anytime I even hinted that I needed a break, the owner acted like I was personally sabotaging his business. And now he'd basically handed me a whole week to recharge with no guilt. No begging for time off. No scrambling to swap shifts. Just freedom. It felt like the universe's way of saying, you deserve this. So I decided that if he was going to act like suspending me was some great punishment, I'd make sure to enjoy every second of it. I wasn't going to sit around stewing about how unfair it was. I wasn't going to check my phone every hour, waiting for some half-hearted apology or demand to come back early. Instead, I was going to treat it like the vacation I hadn't been allowed to take. I texted my girlfriend, "Guess who just got an unexpected week off?" She called me immediately, half concerned, half excited when I explained. "You're really okay with this?" she asked. I thought about it, and to my surprise, I realized I was more than okay. I was thrilled. I'd let myself get so caught up in being the dependable one that I'd forgotten what it felt like to wake up without dreading a double shift. To have time to do literally nothing if I wanted. So that afternoon, I started making a plan. I was going to sleep in every single day. I'd watch all the movies I kept putting off because I was too tired. I'd play disc golf with my buddies. I'd go on long walks with my girlfriend. And most importantly, I would not answer my phone for any work-related nonsense. If the owner wanted to suspend me to teach me a lesson, he was about to find out that the only lesson I'd learn was how good it felt to be unavailable. That evening, I did something I hadn't done in longer than I cared to admit. I turned off my work phone. Not silenced. Not set to vibrate. Off. Just the simple act of powering it down felt like shedding 100 pounds of stress. I put it in a drawer and decided I wouldn't even look at it until the following Monday. If they needed something, they could figure it out because apparently my absence was no big deal when it came to suspending me. I made a list of all the things I'd been saying maybe next week to for months. Little things like reorganizing my music collection, finally trying the new Thai place, or catching up on my favorite shows. Bigger things like actually getting outside and moving my body in the daylight instead of shuffling between my car and the back entrance of the restaurant. That Tuesday night, I slept for nearly 12 hours straight. And when I woke up late Wednesday morning, it felt like my brain had finally stopped buzzing. The rest of the week was blissful. I went disc golfing with friends, who kept joking that I looked more relaxed than they'd ever seen me. I spent an entire afternoon with my girlfriend wandering around the park, not once thinking about table numbers or side work, or whether the kitchen was going to screw up an order. Every evening, I made myself something simple and comforting to eat, and I didn't have to bolt it down in 10 minutes before a shift started. Every night, I stayed up as late as I wanted watching movies. There were no double shifts, no emergency texts, no lectures about how the restaurant would fall apart without me. Because spoiler alert, it didn't. Or at least it didn't until the weekend hit. By Friday afternoon, I was midway through my third round of disc golf for the week when I finally turned my work phone back on, just to see what I'd missed. It lit up like a Christmas tree. Missed calls, voicemails, texts with increasing desperation. At first, the messages were clipped and smug. "I expect you back next Monday." Then, "We'll need you to pick up some extra shifts when you return." But by Friday evening, the tone had shifted entirely. "Hey, call me back. We're slammed. We really need you tonight. Call ASAP." Apparently, the weekend rush hit them harder than the owner ever anticipated. 2 servers called out sick. Another quit on the spot. They were so short-staffed they had dishwashers covering tables. Customers were waiting an hour to get seated. Orders were piling up. Complaints were coming in faster than the kitchen could plate meals. I read every single message slowly, savoring each one. And then my phone rang again, his name lighting up on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, he tried again. This time, I answered. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice as calm and casual as possible. He sounded out of breath, like he'd been running laps around the dining room. "We need you to come in tonight," he said without preamble. I almost laughed. I thought I was suspended. I reminded him. There was a pause, then a frustrated sigh. "You've made your point," he snapped. "We need you. Tonight. And tomorrow if you can." I leaned back against the hood of my car, watching the sunset over the park. I'd never felt so at peace. "Sorry," I said, trying not to grin. "But I don't think I've learned my lesson yet." Gonna have to finish out my suspension. The silence on the other end was glorious. He didn't argue after that. Didn't threaten. Didn't try to guilt-trip me. Just hung up. When I came back the following week, it was like stepping into a different restaurant. Everyone was polite. The owner didn't even look me in the eye. My coworkers treated me like I just survived some epic trial. Nobody ever gave me grief for taking time off again. Looking back, it's still funny to me how something that was meant to be a punishment turned out to be the best gift I could have asked for. I'd spent so long being the dependable one, the guy who never said no, that everyone, especially the owner, assumed I'd always be there to pick up the slack. It never even crossed his mind that I might just not, that I might actually enjoy stepping away for a while, that I might realize I'd been letting this job eat up more of my life than it deserved. That week off wasn't just a vacation. It was a reminder that I didn't owe my constant availability to a business that would suspend me over a minor misunderstanding. It taught me that sometimes the best way to stand up for yourself isn't with a dramatic confrontation. It's with calm indifference. It's knowing you're worth enough to let someone flail without you. When I finally walked back into that restaurant, I could feel it. Everyone knew exactly what had happened. The other servers gave me these little nods of solidarity, like they wished they'd had the nerve to do the same. The owner didn't say much. He didn't apologize outright. He probably never would. But from that day forward, he treated me with a cautious respect he'd never bothered to show before. He knew I wasn't afraid to walk away. And honestly, that knowledge was worth more than any apology. It's funny. Sometimes you don't realize how much power you have until you stop giving it away.